Good evening. If we haven't met, my name is Will Stewart, and I'm the Executive Director of Stay Work Play New Hampshire, and I'd like to welcome you tonight to the launch, wait for the applause, for the launch of the Insider's Guide to Greater Concord. So I'm super excited to see you all here and super excited to launch this great guide that promotes this great region of our state. Also super excited to be here at Red River Theaters, which of course is featured in the guide and is one of the premier destinations here in the city and part of what makes this region so cool. So with that, I'd like to introduce the Executive Director of Red River Theaters, and who also happens to serve, at least for one more month, as the chair of the Concord Young Professionals Network, one of our partners with the Insider's Guide.
Yes, thank you so much. We're so thrilled to be able to host this Insider's Guide launch. Obviously, we know how cool Concord is, and SIP-IN does a big part to push out and tell people, but now we actually have a digital guide to do that. And we're not just hosting because we made the guide, because I double-checked before I said yes. No, I'm just kidding. But you are in the hottest place tonight because there's a Mamma Mia sing-along happening. It's sold out, so you can't get tickets. But you are in the hottest spot in Concord tonight. So thank you so much, and thank you to Stay Work Play for all of the support they do to highlight all the amazing young professionals we have in the state. You advocate for us, and you rise us up. So thank you to Stay Work Play for all the work that you've been doing. And as far as SIP-IN goes, we just want to thank you for making sure that people know what we're doing and advocating for what we want. So thank you. And there's more.
Thank you. Thank you. Speaking of the food, would also like to thank Endicott Furniture, another great local independent business across the street, for being our food sponsor tonight.
Professional owned.
Yes, young professional. And also Aisa Sweets provided some of those great cookies and baklava over there, another young professionally owned company here in the Greater Concord region. And would most definitely like to thank our overarching sponsor for the entire Insider's Guide series, which I'll tell you a little bit more about here in a couple of minutes. But that's Eversource Energy. They're sponsoring all the guides for the entire state that we're going to be rolling out really over the next year and a half or so. So with that, I'd like to introduce Caitlin Woods, the Senior Media Specialist for Eversource.
Woo! I'm thrilled to be here to join you all in celebrating the launch of the Insider's Guide to Concord. And it's the second in a series of guides that will be rolling out in the next several months throughout the state. And what we're really excited about these guides is that they are a great resource, not just for our business in trying to recruit new employees, but for all businesses throughout the state. And as a leader in workforce development here in New Hampshire, we value our partnership with Stay Work Play as one of the many ways that we're working to attract and retain young people to the state. This is critical for us at Eversource, and it's critical for all businesses in the state that are really powering the economy here. We share your concern about climate change. We're working to advance clean energy here in New Hampshire, and in order to do that, we need a new generation of workers that can help support those efforts to advance clean energy technologies. Some of the proposals that we're advancing are battery storage and community solar and electric vehicle charging stations. So as we do that, we need a new generation of workers to help us advance those new technologies. So again, we're really excited to be here, and we're grateful to all of you for the support. We do have a young professionals group here. That we have members that are here today from Eversource. We have a young professionals group at Eversource, and Sandra Gagnon is our co-sponsor. Connor Jennings actually authored the letter that's in the guide for Concord, and Will Craig was the author of the letter for the guide to Greater Manchester. One anecdote I wanted to share with all of you is that we actually have a success story. The Greater Manchester guide is being used by one of our employees who just moved to Manchester from Boston recently, and he's only been here for a few months. He said he loves the guide, and what he loves most about it is that the content is curated. Rather than having to search in a Google engine, he's able to find these resources that were selected for his demographics. So that's something he really appreciates about the guide, and it's exciting to hear that he's already using it in that way. So thank you so much.
Thank you to Eversource again. Well, next we'd like to hear from, I'd say, arguably one of the biggest cheerleaders for Concord to talk a little bit, and that would be the city manager for the city of Concord, Tom Aspel.
Thank you. The Mayor Boulay wishes he could be here tonight, but he actually just had double cataract surgery. So if you approach him anytime soon, do it slowly, because now he can actually see. Look, I see Tim Sink back there. Tim, he can see what you look like now. Don't frighten him. So what the mayor and I talked about all along was we've done a lot of the working on the investments in particularly downtown Concord and throughout Concord, is really setting it up for the next generation, setting it up for the millennial groups and the young professionals. And between Concord Young Professionals Group and now the work that Eversource is doing, the Chamber of Commerce, and this whole program and setting up this program, this really is part of what we need as a community. This is really important to us. We're all ambassadors for the community for this. And I see it really as our responsibility for young professionals, for their own good. They should know about their options and what's available to them. And I think Concord is a great opportunity for a lot of folks. So we're here. We're glad to participate in anything you need. Susie Pegg, our Economic Development Director, is here to do whatever she needs to do. And Stephanie Breton is also here as our communications person and social media. So we are trying to catch up with what the rest of you have been doing all these years. And any way you can help us, we certainly appreciate it. So thank you for doing everything that you're doing. And we're going to partner with you all the way through this and make sure it's very successful. So, Will, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you for all. The city especially, and the region as a whole, but here in the city of Concord, really has done a tremendous job in the past few years. I mean, Main Street being just the biggest example of a transformation, that makes the place more livable and ultimately more interesting. And I think you can feel the excitement here in the city. So, under your leadership is very much appreciated, that of Tim Sink and the Chamber, and the Mayor Boulay and the council as well. So thank you all for your efforts to really make Concord more young person friendly. So, as I mentioned, these insiders guides, we're creating one for each region of the state. And the goal is really to be a talent and attraction tool that businesses can use to really help to sell their region to prospective employees. We talk to a lot of HR directors at Stay Work Play as we try to keep our fingers to the pulse of what's going on and why young people are staying and leaving, and with the workforce in particular. And one of the things they tell us is that not only do they have to sell the job and the company and the benefits package and opportunities for advancement and everything that happens with regard to the company, but increasingly, and especially for young people, they need to sell the place. People ask, well, this sounds like a great job with great benefits, but what is there to do here in the region? And they said sometimes they have a little bit of a challenge answering that question. They're so focused on selling the job. So we heard that. After we've heard that, about the 20th time, we said, well, maybe we should do something about this. So that was kind of the genesis of these guides. And again, we're producing one for every region of the state, and the Greater Concord Guide is our second one. And as part of these, we're partnering with the experts in the local part of every region of the state, and that is the Young Professional Networks, of which there are 14 plus, I think, geographically based young professionals groups. Who, I mean, you guys, I know there are a number of SIPN members here. You're the experts. You're the feet on the ground. You know what's cool and can help us curate these guides. And as we heard from Caitlin, it's already kind of paying some dividends, and you're really helping, hopefully, to retain this one particular employee at Eversource, so he gets to know his region a little bit better. And that's really what it's about, is helping young people, and really these guides can be used for any employees, because everybody, I think, wants to live in an interesting place, but really to help people feel like an insider, to feel like they belong, and ultimately to put down roots. Because when you're rooted someplace, I think you're less likely to leave, in the long run. Then your job, where you live, is more than just where you work. It's also where you live, where you have friends, and that keeps you in a place. And we recognize too the need, that we need to do that quickly. A lot of the places that are in the guides, the best place to get a burrito, or where to catch an independent movie at your local independent cinema. These are things that I think people, if you're around long enough, you'll figure this stuff out eventually. Somebody will clue you in, but it might take a few years. but unfortunately, we don't have a few years. We found out about a little over a year ago, through a survey that we commissioned, again sponsored by Eversource, thank you, to get some data on why young people are leaving and staying in New Hampshire. One of the for me, the most disturbing things that we found out was that 1/3 of respondents, and these are 20 people between the ages of 20 and 40 living in New Hampshire, 1/3 of them said they were either likely or very likely to leave the state within the next 24 months. So if I'm a betting man, those are bad odds. I don't like that. So we recognize the need that we don't have 5 years for somebody to really get rooted here. We need to get them on the fast track, and that's why we're hopeful that by cluing them in to make people feel like insiders, that we can do just that. So again, thank you to the Concord Young Professionals Network for really helping us to really curate the information in these guides. I'd like to give a particular big thank you to, where's Alexa? Alexa Carpenter. Yes. I'll tell you why you're applauding her in just a minute.
I'm excited.
And we all owe her a big debt of gratitude. Alexa is a junior, right, at St. Anselm, and was an intern for Stay Work Play this summer. And this was her baby. This was her main project that she focused on during her time with us. And I think when you all check out the guides, and I'm sure you'll all go home and download it immediately if you haven't already done so, you'll see the fruits of her labor, and it really is fantastic. And Alexa, thank you so much for all of your work. So as I mentioned, the guide is available for download, and it is for free. This is for individuals, again, for companies to be able to share with prospective employees, for any of you to be able to share with your friends or relatives. Anybody you think would appreciate something like this, please share. They can be downloaded at stayworkplay.org/insider, and that URL is written down on a number of these cards that you'll see scattered about the room. Hope you'll take one and share these as well with any employers and others that you know. And you can download this there, and you can also download, you mentioned the Insider's Guide to Greater Manchester, it's also there, and that'll be the home for all of the other regional guides coming up. And I believe right now we're starting to work on both the Lakes Region Guide and the Greater Nashua Guide, so more to come soon as we make our way across the state. So, before we wrap up, I wanted to hear kind of a success story, a Stay Work Play success story, we like to call it. And like to invite, where is Erin? Erin Shade, you want to come on up? Erin is the incoming chair of the Concord Young Professionals Network. Begin your term next month in October. Also a transplant from Wisconsin. And hoping you could tell us a little bit about how you ended up in Concord, and you could have gone back to Wisconsin, you could have gone anywhere in the world. Why did you choose Concord? Why are you still here?
That's a great question. No, so I grew up in Wisconsin, and the day before I graduated from college, one of my professors was asking that huge question, what are you doing after you graduate? And I had no good answer for him. I was moving back home with my parents. I didn't have a job yet, and luckily one of my professors encouraged me to look up AmeriCorps, and I didn't know what that meant at the time. And so, 2 days later, I was at home at my parents' house researching AmeriCorps, and it turned out it's a year-long program in which you can serve for a nonprofit anywhere in the country. You just apply to different programs. And so I did, and the first organization that called me back was from Nashua, New Hampshire, which I probably could not have labeled on a map, the state of New Hampshire, I mean, and like Vermont, New Hampshire. So the rest is kind of history. I packed up my car 2 months later and drove out. I did not have a place to live, I did not really have an income, and I also didn't know anyone here. So my parents loved that. They're like, yeah, good luck. But I say that because moving to New Hampshire was kind of on a whim and like kind of a happenstance that happened, and people, questioned me like, why did you do that? But after living here for 7 years, I can say that New Hampshire was not just something on a whim. I truly love it here in New Hampshire. Concord has been my home for over 2 years now. I want to give a shout out to the Chamber of Commerce. I know Tim is back there somewhere. The Concord Young Professionals Network has been an absolute lifeline for me ever since I moved here. The friends that I've made through Stay Work Play, through SIPN, through the Leadership Greater Concord program, those relationships that I've built have really enabled me to succeed professionally, but also make friends, which, as we know, is one of the things that truly keeps people in New Hampshire. So definitely a big shout out to them. I think Concord is a unique place where people who have lived their whole lives in the state of New Hampshire, or transplants like me, you know, can really find friends, they can find opportunities to truly make a difference, to start their own business and everything in between. And Concord really has those amenities that I think a lot of young people are really looking for, and I certainly appreciate myself. There are so many fun events downtown, whether it's market days, whether it's the upcoming TEDx conference, that young people really just love, and I'm so excited that people find the courage and the desire and the, you know, just that strong desire to really succeed and to bring things that they know people want and will make and strengthen our community here. So I just want to say thank you to all the people who make Concord so awesome. I think we're really, between the city working on the amazing downtown and all of the young professionals here in this room, I think we have an opportunity to really make Concord an awesome place to live. So, thank you.
I don't think you can get more of a ringing endorsement for Concord than that. So just a great example of a lot of the great people and great organizations doing great things, you know, here in the city and the entire capital region. So again, thank you all for coming out tonight to help us celebrate the launch of this guide. Again, take one of these cards, download the guide. It's a PDF, share it as much as you can, overshare it on social media, spam all of your friends and family and coworkers, do whatever you need to do to get this out there. Again, thank you, first of all, to Eversource for sponsoring this entire Insider's Guide series. Thank you to Red River Theaters for hosting us here tonight. Thank you to Endicott Furniture and Aisa Sweets for providing all this great food tonight. And again, thank you all for coming out. So please stick around, help us eat some of this great food, and have a good night.